magazine images, and scrapbook paper. That's what we're playing with today. We're making them into things that look pretty, even if they're not your favorite images or your favorite paper. This is older scrapbook paper, and it's in my stash, and I wanted to try different avenues of transforming it. So I've been working on these projects the last 2 weeks, and now it's time to do a little bit extra decorating in the accordion journals. This is the set of paper that I began with, and they're not, this has to be older than 10 years, and they're not my favorite. And I put out a call for magazines in our Buy Nothing Facebook group, and 3 lovely ladies gave me a whole bunch. So now I'm making frames from stacked or multiple dies or dies themselves. And inside the frame, the paper is a multimedia paper. There we go. That's it. So it has a little bit of heft, and it handles water well and glue. So you can see the frames I die cut. And the images inside the frames, they're just magazine photos, parts of magazine photos. And I chose them to coordinate with the different scrapbook paper. See, this is a stacked die that I used to make a frame, and I'm putting them into this journal. I'm using it for a book study that I'm doing. So one side has affirmations like that, and on the other side of the accordion journal, I've just picked out a word or two to connect me with the affirmation. So let's put one on. I'll show you how I do it. I'm imagining that you can figure it out, but sometimes seeing somebody do something works better. That's the one I'm going to do. I'm going to do the word sleep. And I always enjoy using rounded corners. These accordion journals, they don't lend themselves to doing too many rounded corners, especially on the pages. But I can do that in the cards. And this is how I keep my sponges for Distress Oxide ink organized. Then I just have one handle and the sponges in that little discarded watercolor booklet. Otherwise, I can't always identify which sponge or handle. And I'm starting to have too many things in my little craft room. It's not that little. I'm very thankful for it. But I'm finding that using only one handle and multiple sponges is working really well for me. A little bit of art glitter glue on I've used Mod Podge and mica powder. We did that a couple of videos ago. You can see how that worked out. And in a little bit in this video, I'm going to show you where I tried to use the mica powder with another powder, which is gum arabica, and it didn't work for me. So I'm still stuck with Mod Podge. Yeah, that's a pun, Mod Podge, sticky. And these are just the offcuts of the multimedia paper that I'm using to put words on. I'm looking for the letters that will spell sleep. I cut out the part where it took forever to find each letter. But you get the idea. I'm going to put it on the page and only glue the top and the bottom so that I can tuck something in afterward, underneath or behind the card with the frame on it. How are you doing? Are you well? I hope you're well. I've had a busy week. I've enjoyed my crafting. I didn't get as much done as what I hoped I would. But this week I want to finish up a few things. I think I'm going to do one more week with the magazine images and with the scrapbook paper. And then I'm going to move on to a different idea. So at the end of this video, you'll see what I'm planning for next week. And this may be the end of my foray into, at this point anyhow, into collaging. There's a few things on my list that I haven't done yet, so I might pull them out a little later. But as we do as crafters, something else manages to grab our attention. See, I can fit something behind there. So as I go through the book for the book study, I'll be able to write little notes to myself and just tuck them in there. Here you go. Here's the other accordion journal, and it's a different kind of frame. I die cut out of the multimedia paper those frames. You can see the die cut just above, and then glued the magazine images behind. And I'll show you how I did that. Yeah, many of them were from that South Carolina free visitors book. I'm going to use the die cut on the right. Yeah, I'm referring to, this is mulberry paper. I got a bunch of that and I spritzed it, and I used a embossing folder to put on like a design in the mulberry paper. So I was having a little bit of fun at that. So I'm adding a few things to these accordion journals. It's not pure magazine images and scrapbook paper. So I'm going to use that and probably make some kind of pocket on the right-hand side. But on the left-hand side, these all are images that I started. Here's how I attached them. You might find this interesting. It worked out really well. That's why I'm taking the time to show you. So this is the die cut. And it was from Amazon, so I don't even know the name of it, but it's a frame. I choose a magazine image that I like, that the color appeals to me, the image itself means something to me. I love glass, so I've actually done some blown glass work myself and enjoyed it thoroughly. But yeah, working with heat and fire is not the best thing. I'm not real careful, so I did it at a studio, a glassworks studio, when we were traveling with our RV. It was in Corning, New York. And it was a museum. I have the pieces that I did. It was fascinating. So that's why this picture appealed to me. And you see how I'm just trimming it? I glued on first, and then I trim it. That has worked the best for making sure that the magazine images lay flat and are nicely framed. This is Art Glitter Glue. There is no glitter in the glue. It's just the name of the company. And I decant it from the large bottle into these tiny bottles with a very narrow nozzle, because you don't need a lot of the glue. Now, it's a very expensive glue in my opinion, but because you use so little, it works out fine. So one side has those magazine images that we cut out last week and decoupaged, and the other side has images in frames. So these are the different mica powders that I used. They're a Recollections brand, and I put the fire brick on this one. You can see how metallic and shiny it is. And I mixed it with the gum gum Arabic. But you can see it still brushes off on my finger. And that doesn't work for me. I can't have that in my junk journals. So I'm going to have to put a fixative of some kind on top. I've seen someone use hairspray, so I'm going to try that, but I have to buy some because I don't use hairspray. I also mixed the powder into with the gum Arabic with texture paste. Gold. It was the gold. I mixed it with the texture paste, and that is not a problem. It doesn't come off on my hands. And I did quite a bit of the gum Arabic with just a little bit of the gold mica powder on this, which has the scrapbook paper and mulberry paper on top, and that did not rub off. So here's another idea. This is with the mulberry paper, and did a texture folder with it. And then also added Distress Oxide ink on top. And this is just a little card that I made with, again, the scrapbook paper and some magazine images. And I'm going to send it as a card to a friend. I'm going to write in that area. And I'm going to attach that to the front of the card. So trying to disguise that scrapbook paper, whether it was with some kind of spray or whatever. This is another experiment I tried. Mod Podge down, and then a magazine image, and then I used water and a sponge to tear off the top layer of the magazine image. And it's not terrible, but I wouldn't use it in my junk journal. Here's another idea. I made, instead of the accordion journal, I made a traditional journal out of a envelope, covered it with scrapbook paper, and then I found different images that inspired me in magazines, and I'm using them to cut out shapes that inspire me. You saw that one was a snow globe. I'm going to cut out that table and those chairs, and they're backed onto the scrapbook paper. And the images I'm going to put into this journal, I'll show you next week. So that's one way to use magazine images and scrapbook paper. Now here's a strawberry dessert that I cut out a shape of a strawberry. This I did with my Cricut, but you could do that by hand too. And I'm going to use this to make a card. So that's one way to use. This can be a really nice card inviting somebody to come visit. And these are paint chips. I got a bunch of paint chips because we are in a newer house and I'm thinking about painting. So the ones that I didn't choose as the color for the wall, I'm now using in crafting. And this will make a great tag to fit in the teacup to invite somebody to come visit. All kinds of different ways to use magazine images and scrapbook paper we're not fond of, and inks and dyes and sprays and all kinds of things. Whether you're making a journal or whether you're making cards or whether you're making an accordion journal to remind you of something you're learning, we can use what's around us and transform it into something new, something different. That's the paper I'm continuing to use, and I'll be using it again next week. I'm using magazine images, and here's what's next week. I'm going to use napkins in a few different ways. So take care. It's Laurie at Positive Thanks Living. I look forward to being with you next week. Bye for now.